Hello everybody and happy Friday. I hope you've had a good week. It's been a pretty nice and relatively relaxing week here for me and I'm happy for that. Some previous weeks have been kind of tough, so this has been nice. And I have been like full steam ahead on reading things. So let's talk about what I'm currently reading, what I plan on picking up next. I'm going to talk a little bit about changing goals for this year, and then an update on what I am making because I have finished and or started some of the knitting and crochet projects that I talked about 2 weeks ago, and I like talking about those things. So on the reading front, there are 3 books I'm currently actively reading. One of those is Wildlife by MacLeod. Yes, I'm still reading this book. I'm very much enjoying it, and it is my main read now, so I'll probably finish it sometime on Saturday at the rate that I'm going. I'm really enjoying this book. This is set in like 1902 in Washington State, and the main character who's telling the story is a very feminist single mother of 5 boys who supports her family by writing, and she heads off into like logging country to search for her housekeeper's missing granddaughter who may have been taken by Sasquatches. It's so well written, I'm really enjoying it. It feels a lot like historical fiction, so I'm not sure how real the Sasquatch element is yet, but I don't care. I'm just really enjoying it. I think I can say now with the 3rd book that I've been reading by MacLeod that I really like her style. I've also started The Man Who Fell to Earth by Walter Tevis. This is also really well written. I don't really know anything about Tevis as an author. I think the introduction to this SF Masterworks edition says that he taught creative writing. Either way, it's very well written so far and I'm quite interested in the story. It is literally about a man who comes from what's probably Mars to Earth to make money, I think to help save his people and his planet. And I just really like the feel of it so far. So I'm excited about this, and I'll probably also finish it this weekend because it's relatively short. I'm only like 2 chapters into it though. And then, things I'm going to start next. This is where I talk about changing some goals and stuff. I know I'm going to be reading Six Moon Dance by Sherry Tepper. It's the last book in this big omnibus. I think Joe and I will probably start our buddy read of this on the weekend, but I haven't confirmed that with him yet. But we are trying to power through a bunch of Tepper novels this month. So I don't know anything about Six Moon Dance. I'll be going into it completely blind, but I'm pretty sure it's another science fiction novel by Tepper. So, with everything going on in the US and it feels like the entire world now around Black Lives Matter, I have had to do some thinking about what I want to do. I'm very much the type of person who resolves to make changes and do things in my life, and I keep that very private and anonymous. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that, but I do think this feels like a pivotal moment in history. This is a big event, and I don't think it's going away, and I think I would regret not saying something and acknowledging it. So I have been spending the last 2 weeks or so thinking about what I want to do, how do I want to participate in this and supporting Black people and supporting the protests and what people are asking for. I completely agree with all of this, but what do I do in my own fashion? And it's taken some searching for me to come to grips with what I'm lacking, basically. So I have 3 things that I'm doing. The first one, kind of the easiest thing, is to donate money, which I have done, and I will not be talking about in great detail because I've donated to organizations that are very local to where I live, and I keep all of that private. The second thing is to educate myself, which is probably the most important thing because it's the bit that I've realized I lack the most. I do not know a lot about the history of racism in the country I was born into. I know very little about what the Black community has gone through, and I just need to educate myself. Part of the reason I haven't is that a lot of it can be very grim reading, very grim viewing, and I kind of just prefer to read nonfiction about science and technology. I need to get out of that comfort zone and educate myself, basically. So I have lined up a couple of things to watch and to read, and I have bought copies of How to Be an Anti-Racist and White Fragility, so I will be reading those in the near future. Hang on a second. I have a package being delivered and I can hear the beeps outside. Okay, I think the mailman is gone now. Sorry for that interlude. So I'm going to be doing that, and you know, I have a Netflix subscription. There are important things on there I can be watching, so I'll be doing that. The third thing I can do is to take the time and the money I put into my hobbies and make sure that I'm using that to support people of color and Black creators and Black authors. And I had a nasty surprise today. If you would have asked me yesterday if I had read any books by Black authors in 2020, I would have said, yeah, probably a couple. I haven't. I went through all the books that I've read this year. I have read one book by Black authors, and that was Sunspot Jungle Volume 1, which is an anthology. I have read over 100 things this year, and I've read one book by a Black author. And I was very disappointed in myself for that. So I'm changing my reading goals somewhat for this year, and I'm basically going to try to read 25 books by Black authors in the second half of 2020, and this is going to kind of take precedence over my reading projects. My SF Masterworks project, I've got over 20 books to read for that. Not a single one of them is by a Black author. I just did the kickoff for my Otherwise Award Winners project. Of those 11 books that I want to read by the end of the year, 3 of them are by Black authors. So that's 3, and I need another 22. The interesting thing about resolving to do this and making a list of what to read is that it was really easy to make that list. I now have a list of 30 books by Black authors, actually I think it's 31 now, that were already on my wish list, were already on my various TBRs. Why haven't I read them yet? I'm excited about them. Most of them are books I would love to read by authors that I already know I like, part of series that I've already started and enjoyed, and I just haven't gotten to them yet. So I'm going to. And it's okay if my other reading goals kind of slide for a while. This is more important to me right now, and well, yeah. Some things just are more important. So that's what I'm going to be doing. I am currently started on one of those books from my Black authors TBR, and that is the second volume of Sunspot Jungle, edited by Bill Campbell. And now I had some difficulties with the first volume. It was a bunch of stories, very dark, some of them very much horror that I did not enjoy, not my type of thing at all. I was nervous about starting volume 2. I'm liking it so much more. This seems to be the volume with all the science fiction stories so far. And so yeah, I'm quite excited about it. I think I'm about 50 pages into it. Oh no, almost 100 pages into it. Got farther than I thought. So I want to finish this in June, which I can do. I've been kind of marking off how many pages to read per day to finish this, and I will get that done. And then once I've finished one or two of the other things I've got going on, I will be starting on 2 more from my list. One of them is Navariona by Samuel R. Delany. I have started reading this book multiple times. I still have a bookmark in it, and I've really enjoyed what I've read of it so far. I just put it down for other things. I'm going to get back to this. And then, of course, I have The City We Became by N.K. Jemisin, which I was gonna read this month anyway. So I did set myself a little mini challenge for June, which I don't think I talked about here. I think I just posted about on Instagram, but I'm trying to read 10 books from my physical TBR in June, hopefully more than that because I've got a couple of new releases coming to me in June that I want to read as soon as I get them. So I had like The City We Became on the tentative list of 10 to read for the month. So I'm trying to do so many things at the same time with my reading, and we'll see how it goes. The other thing that I can do with my hobbies is support Black creators and Black designers when I am knitting and when I'm crocheting. This has been a really big conversation in like the fiber arts community over the past couple of weeks as well. And I have been doing some research, looking at a lot of the resources that people have been providing, like the BIPOC and Fiber website, which is a great directory to find people of color in the community. So I've been using that resource a lot, and Ravelry has got stuff linked on their homepage and everything. And this has been one of the easiest like research projects, like what am I gonna make next? What materials am I gonna use? And you know, where does that money go to support people? And I found so many exciting things. So I'm not ready to start any of those projects right now because I'm in the middle of so many other things, but I thought I would mention that I'm also thinking about these matters in that community as well, which is a little segue into what I am currently making. So I think the last time I showed things in a Friday Reads video, I was still working on my sweater, and I have finished it, and it's really cool looking. I think the colors came out so well, and all the puckering blocked out really nicely. This is my first ever attempt at knitting color work, and I quite enjoyed it. It came out a bit big, which is partly my fault because I wasn't really trying to stay on gauge. So I knit something bigger than what the pattern was gonna call for. And it doesn't have the shape or the fit that I really wanted it to, so I'm a little unhappy with that. I may actually rip out the cuffs and re-knit them to change the shape of the sleeves a little bit. We'll see if I decide to do that. It was fun, it was a learning experience, and I think it looks really cool, but if I decide that I'm not really comfortable wearing it, I may give it away to somebody who it will fit better than me. So that was fun. And the Ladyfingers sweater was a knit-along in May, I think. I didn't actually knit it during the knit-along, I discovered it after that was over. But the designer, Morgan Waltersdorf, is doing a new knit-along for the Panglossian sweater in June, and that's what I've been working my fingers off on for the past couple of days. And mine looks like this so far. I just split for the sleeves and started on the body yesterday. So this is a more complex color work project. I have to actually catch floats, and I haven't memorized the chart yet. It's very puckered, and I hope some of that blocks out. I've had some very inconsistent tension and gauge, mostly because I've been really struggling with learning how to hold two strands of yarn at the same time. I finally figured it out, but not until I got to about here. So things are really wonky up around the top of the yoke and the neckline. I'm placing my trust in blocking, however, because blocking is magical. So I'm taking a break from this now because I kind of started to hurt my hand when I have to hold the yarn and be very careful with things. It really has been bothering my hand. So that's that for right now. I think the knit along for this goes until the end of June, so I'll finish it this month. A project that I didn't show last time, even though I meant to, I completely forgot it, is my next crocheted shawl, which looks like this so far. This is the Botanica shawl by Lena Fedotova, who is Ravliki on Instagram and Ravelry. It is a very textured shawl that's designed for like hand-dyed yarn with lots of variegation. I don't know if you can see that at all, but I love the texture of it. So I've been working a lot on this. I've done 2 of the 3 repeats, and I'm fading out back to my original color now. The main color I'm using is a color called Alba Ether from Third Vault Yarns. This is the Glasgow 2024 Worldcon bid colorway. I got 2 skeins of it. It's really pretty, and I think it looks really great in the linen stitch in this shawl. And then the darker, more saturated purpley color here is also Third Vault Yarns. It's a color called Desire, and I think it's from her Fates collection. I think it's based on the character Desire from Neil Gaiman's Sandman, I think. Don't quote me on that if I'm wrong though. So I will finish this soon because I only have one more repeat. I plan on going back to the Alba Ether color and then fading out at the edge to use up a little bit more of the Desire color. We'll see if it works out. I have to see how it actually looks to know if it will be good or not. And then the other shawl. This is the one that I talked about starting last time, and I've made really good progress on it. Let me see if I can untangle the yarn here. This is my Diva shawl. It is a knitted shawl, my first ever one, by Julie Knits in Paris, I think. And as you can see, I figured out how to do brioche. This is stockinette brioche, or two-color stockinette brioche, which means it's not reversible. It's only brioche on this side. The wrong side looks kind of like a mess. But I did figure out how to do it, and I've gotten in a good rhythm on it. Brioche is not as scary as I thought, and this is probably a good project to have started with because it's relatively simple and it's really easy to memorize what to do. Yeah, I've been really enjoying it, and I'm looking at future projects. Like, I don't have to be scared of brioche anymore. I could like totally do more brioche projects in the future. So I'm also really happy with how the colors turned out here. I think the gold color goes really well with this kind of burgundy purple color. It's really, really nice. The gold is from the Woolen Rabbit. It's a color called Midas Touch, and the purple is from the Sheepy Shire. It's a color called Elton, I think. So I've been working on a bunch of things. I need to work on one thing at a time so I can get a few of these finished. Today, on Friday, I am trying to work on the Diva shawl. I've got 24 more rows to do of the brioche, and I would like to complete that before I switch back to any of the other projects. So this is a lot of good audiobook time. And I realized I forgot to mention my current audiobook, which is The Faceless Old Woman Who Secretly Lives in Your Home by Joseph Fink and Jeffrey Cranor. This is the latest Welcome to Night Vale novel, though I don't think it actually takes place in Night Vale. Most of it seems to be a historical backstory to the Faceless Old Woman set in Europe? Maybe in Italy? I'm not entirely sure. I've just started listening to it today, and the audiobook is narrated by Mara Wilson, who also does The Faceless Old Woman and the podcast, and her voice is divine. I usually listen to audiobooks at like 1.4 to 1.8 speed, but I'm listening to this at just the regular speed because I really, really enjoy her narration. It's beautiful. I think I'm going to enjoy this book for the narration, if nothing else. Though the Faceless Old Woman is one of my favorite characters from Night Vale, and I mean, if this is going to be her backstory, even if it's not set in the town of Night Vale, I'm really curious. I just want to know more about her. So yeah. That's it. That was a lot to pack into one Friday Reads video, I feel like, but that's been my life and my thoughts for this past week, basically. So yeah, let me know what you were up to. Leave me a comment down below, and I'll be back to talk to you again relatively soon. And until then, happy reading.